Yo, I don't think we should talk about this. Come on, why not? People might misunderstand what we're trying to say, you know?
Well, really, I don't think people misunderstand it. I just think if you're like me, you're just afraid to talk about it. But I think we might as well talk about it. Might as well switch it up. Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Thank you for joining me again. I'm Ebony J. Welcome to my third episode of Might As Well Talk About It. I'm so excited because I can definitely feel from the first time of me getting started with this journey to go to YouTube and broadcast and share what I'm going through and trying to open up with others out there. I can definitely feel the momentum. I can definitely feel my ambition, my drive is returning. You know, the person that I usually am when it comes to me pursuing something or me being passionate about something, me being zealous about something that I really want to, put out there or to do. So I feel it coming back. So I'm excited about that because, going through what I've been going through with this anxiety, I definitely feel that it has pulled away from me. I've become lethargic in many cases of going through what I've been going through, the depression, things that just kind of would weigh me down, just being fearful, being afraid, being constantly worried, which would, lead to being depressed and just being down and no motivation, no ambition, no drive. It has definitely taken all of that, my peace, everything from me. But, just to finally do this much of, trying to share my journey with people, I can definitely feel it coming back. So I'm so excited about it, and I'm gonna keep going. Even though I still have my moments, I have my rough days going through this, I'm going to keep pushing through because hopefully this will help one person who's going through the struggles, or someone who needed to hear this, or to save someone who's going through what they're going through. Then I feel like I'm doing my job. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna read one of my journals that was dated from October the 7th of 2016. It was 1:36 p.m. So it says, yesterday was not one of my good days. Well, last night to be more specific. For the morning part, it started off okay. I got up around 10 a.m. Felt okay, I ate even, got out to run a few errands, felt relatively normal. However, by late evening, my mood began to change. My thoughts started gradually coming in. I can't really say what triggered it or if anything triggered it at all. But I recall starting to have subconscious thoughts when I would eat and having a mild upset stomach and mild nausea. I had my mind already wondering and worried a little. Also, the fact that our city is expecting a hurricane and we were not sure if we were going to leave or evacuate. So my mind was stirred up a bit by that. So my mind was already in a small worry. So by the time I had eaten a late evening meal afterwards is when I began to feel my body have physical symptoms and my mood changed. By the time I had gotten home, I began to feel symptoms of lightheadedness, brain fog, feeling weak, head feeling warm, head feeling warm, those sensations, and dull aches, which pretty much made me feel like I was getting a flu. So of course my mind was stuck in tunnel vision of worry, hoping not to get any worse. And sure enough, the more it stayed on my mind, the worse I felt. By the time I laid down, I just felt ill. I was even to a point I was scared to even go to the bathroom because I thought I would fall out. My legs felt so weak. The dull aches throughout my body kept coming and going, and I kept tossing and turning. I finally dozed off, which helped a bit because when I woke up out of my sleep, each time I did, I could feel a tad bit of ease coming off of this feeling. So as morning came, I can feel an ease up of how bad I felt last night. I got up to use the bathroom and I didn't feel as bad. So it's just so hard to determine what that was last night. Was it just anxiety or was I really sick with the flu? I know my muscles were sore and tense when I got up. Mild abdominal cramps, headaches, tension headaches, and I woke up still with worry on my mind about last night and about today. Worried how my day was going to be, or worried about how my day will go. Will I still feel ill? Will I have an appetite? Will I feel weak? Is this really anxiety? How are my kidneys? Like, these were just all of the thoughts and things that would just stir up in my mind the moment I would wake up. So thanks for sitting through that journal. And on to the fun part. I don't want to waste any time. I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but very informative. Today's topic is, why do we accept what Dr. Google tells us, but not as fond of our actual doctors? Wow. So as far as that question, the reason why I decided to come with that, or what compelled me, to go with that topic for today, was because, as anxiety sufferers, like I said in my last broadcast, it all spurs from our minds and our thoughts and what goes through our mind every day, how we're feeling, our emotions. And, once our mind tells us something, we kind of believe it. We just pretty much convince ourselves of any and everything, and we kind of go with it. So, there will be times, when I was in my roughest moments that, the first thing I would do was go straight to Google, something that I could get to quickly, and that for the most part, you would kind of believe what Google tells you because you feel like it was, information that was given by, I guess, reputable sources, that was true. So of course, Google would be the first thing because it's right there on my phone. All I had to do was grab the phone, go on Google and say, okay, I'm feeling this ache, I'm feeling this pain, or I feel like this, or I thought about this today. What if this and what if that? Let me go to Google and check to see if, if the symptoms that I'm going through matches up. And, it just became to a point where I became obsessed with that idea of, as soon as I felt something or as soon as I felt a certain way, I would just go straight to Google to pretty much reassure myself, okay, if this is what I'm feeling, is this what it is? And, it was definitely a negative thing because every time I would go on Google, it's not like I would leave, I would, log out feeling better or feeling like, okay, so now this is what it is. No, every time I actually went on Google, my anxiety got worse because for some reason, when you go on Google, it gives you a slew of all of the worst and the most possible case scenarios of certain illnesses or symptoms that you're feeling. So when you go on to it, it gives you all of it. And so for some reason, when you have anxiety, or if you were like me, pessimistic in the mind, or always drawn to the negativity of things, the first thing that I would zero in or I would target in when I'm going on Google is all the worst illnesses or the worst case possible situations when it came to my symptoms. It's like I never went to, okay, well, it's probably just something that's common. It's one of these right here. No, my mind focused straight in on all the worst things. And so as soon as I would target those things, particular things on Google, then that's what I stuck to. And that's what I believed. And that's what I went with. And immediately my anxiety will go from 0 to 100 real fast. But then the funny thing is, by then I had already begun to start realizing, okay, I'm going through anxiety. These are the symptoms, But it's like I still wanted to every day get reassurance of what I was feeling just to make sure that's all it is. So I would be redundant about what I was doing because it's like, well, I know that, the tingling and the dry mouth was, all symptoms of anxiety, but I just want to make sure again today, even though I didn't check this yesterday, the day before that, I've been going through this for a whole month, a year now. Today, I still want to make sure that whatever I found out yesterday is still true today. And that's how it got to a point where it's like, I just wanted to know every day. I wanted reassurance every day. So I would go on Google, and let me tell you, I would be in tunnel vision on Google. Like, it was times I spent hours at a time just focused in on the screen looking at one thing. And it's like, once you find one thing, then it'll spawn or trigger some other idea that you would see as you're researching on Google. Then you're tapping on that, and then that opens up a whole nother case of symptoms and situations. And then you're going from one situation, one trigger or one whatever you're looking at on Google to the next. And like I said, before you know it, you've spent tons of time, useless time, looking on Google, going from one thing to the next, and all it was doing was making you or making me feel worse by the minute. Every time I would be on it, I would leave off just feeling like in a daze. I felt like a zombie. I was in tunnel vision. I wasn't doing nothing else, wasn't focused on nothing else but what Google was showing me. And the sad thing is, we treated Google as if we would treat Google as if it was not that it's not real, but we would treat Google as if it was, worth how you say it, worth believing or accepting, but yet and still we have our very own doctors that we got to report to, or that we go see to get our daily checkups, but then we wouldn't believe them. We think, okay, the doctor must have missed something, or why do I still feel this way if the doctor said this and that, but yet we wouldn't believe them. And that was yet and still the moment I felt any type of anxiety or went through my panic attacks or felt like something really bad was about to happen, I was rushing to the doctor with the quickness. Like, I'm the type of person, like, I'm not about to hold up or wait on anything or try to say, well, maybe it's this, or, you know, just give it some time. I'm not doing that. In the moment of anything feeling different to me, or something that just felt like, you know, unfamiliar, okay, I want to know, I'm rushing to the doctor. But then yet and still we get to the doctor, we still don't believe what they say, or still don't trust them. And there are many cases, truthful cases of, you know, doctors that have misdiagnosed people, that have actually done things as far as when it comes to treatment or surgeries or doing whatever they could to try to save people. You know, it breaks our trust down even more. And I'm gonna tell you, that's exactly what happened for me. Like, I would hear instances and cases about doctors misdiagnosing, or one point that got to me, I'm gonna tell you, the very first thing I heard that a doctor did that was, you know, that just really made me say, oh gosh, I can't even trust doctors anymore. This was years ago. A doctor amputated the wrong leg for a patient. How did a doctor go and take the wrong leg? So then they still had to turn around and end up taking the one that needed to be, you know, amputated. And just things like that, and other cases where I've heard where doctors have given the wrong medicines to people, and, you know, come to find out, you know, why the person or the patient was still constantly being sick and getting ill, and their situation was getting worse. Well, come to find out, the doctors had given them the wrong types of medication. So it's just things like that that just would always stick with me when going to these doctors. And I get it. They're human. We're all human. We all make mistakes. But I just feel like, in a way, that when it comes to something like, you know, medical and doctors, and you're dealing with people's health and their life, I just feel like there's no room for mistakes, no room for making any wrong choices when it comes to trying to save someone or possibly saving somebody. But for me, where the issue comes in at is why I don't trust doctors, or the fact that I'm not as fond of doctors, you know, like you should be, or how I should trust them, is because I just feel like when I go, in my personal experience, again, when I go to doctors, I feel like if you know that I come to you with a certain symptom, or I'm telling you certain things I'm going through, and you know that there are so many other illnesses that have these same type of symptoms and these same type of things that people may be explaining to you, why would you just automatically, you know, go with just one case, you know, or the first thing, you know, when if it's something that's, if it's other things that it could possibly be, you know, why won't you try to pretty much take all the measures possible to make sure it's not any of those things? Like, to me, work backwards. I want to know, like, if I come to you and tell you I have abdominal cramps real bad and this and that, you know, and the first thing you want to throw out is the most common thing. Okay, but if it's also a possibility that abdominal cramps could mean someone, you know, has some type of serious illness, okay, I want you to make sure it's not that serious illness first, and then work your way backwards, you know. And that's what I'm expecting when I go to doctors. But it seems as if when you go to them, they want to throw out the most common thing at you. They don't assess you completely and utterly, you know, to just make you feel like, you know, this is, you know, you're good, you know. And that's what I want. That's how I want, so I can feel reassured, so I can feel confident, and at least feel, you know, woo-sawed about, you know, leaving a doctor. Especially when you tell them that you have anxiety, they automatically throw everything off to your anxiety. It's like they don't care to move past nothing else, and I cannot stand that. And I had to get to a point, because yes, I'm not gonna lie, I was going to the doctors a whole lot, going to urgent cares, going to clinics a whole lot. I had to get to a point where I was like, okay, so the first thing I need to do is not tell them jokers that I got anxiety, because if I do, then they're going to immediately throw off all of my symptoms to me having anxiety or saying that it's all from anxiety, when that's not the case. These same symptoms, and I've looked on Google, to make sure, but some of these same symptoms that anxiety gives are the same exact symptoms for some of these illnesses. So it's like, why not thoroughly check and make sure that, it's not that, and then go back to what's common and say, okay, well, so we know that you don't have cancer. We know that you don't have diabetes. We know that, all of these other sinister illnesses. Make sure we don't have that first and then work backwards. You know what I'm saying? You got people out there that are dying from these things, that are sick from these things. And what happens, or what's the first thing they say? Oh, we found out too late. Or it's too late now. You know what I mean? So that's why, we feel the way we feel. We go to these doctors constantly and trying to check and say, okay, something still don't feel right, and it is what it is. It may be to the doctor like, no, you're overdoing it, you're overthinking, and that's not it, it's your anxiety. But what if you're wrong? What if you are wrong? And that's exactly how we as anxiety sufferers feel. Well, I'm gonna speak for myself, but I'm sure there are others out there that think the same exact way. And it's like, what if you are wrong? But yes, I can go to Dr. Google and it'll tell me exactly what it could be. But no, as anxiety sufferers, because we pay attention to things more, we're more aware, we want to know everything. And Google, I guess for us, it's right there, it's quick and it's easy, and then we believe it. No, it's not always a good thing. No, it doesn't help our anxiety as much, but at the same time, it's more accessible than these doctors, especially when it's times where you set a doctor's appointment. You can't even go to a doctor for a whole month or two before you're even able to be seen. We have, as anxiety sufferers, this thing called cognitive distortions. And it's basically inaccurate thoughts that reinforce negative thought patterns or emotions, which for me, all of what I'm going through has been driven by my emotions. And I'm gonna admit, I'm a very sensitive person. Once going through anxiety and going through what I was going through and allowing my intrusive thoughts to convince me that things were really happening to me, those two most powerful words that always drove my whole day to doing what I was doing and being obsessive and wanting to get on Google was those words, what if? And it got bad for me because I woke up ready to worry. And that's just not a good way to start your day. As far as, cognitive distortions, overgeneralization, jumping to conclusions and catastrophizing or magnifying a problem, or for me also minimizing things, which is like minimizing the positives, like my accomplishments. And as I close out, this would also be another perfect day for you to listen to the sounds of Lenny Kravitz. It ain't over till it's over. I want to say thank you to my cousin. His name is Herbert. He bought this book for me because like I said, I was going through a lot. And it's a good book. So for those of you out there that struggling with anxiety, struggling with, basically the battlefield in your mind, the intrusive thoughts, the worries, the fears of, scared to die, being, afraid of death. And I'm still going through my journey, but I just wanted to share this with you that this book was a big help. I read this book over at least 2 or 3 times back to back to just kind of keep reinforcing these same things in my mind. But the book is called The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer. So one part I wanted to read in her book, she expresses that you need to think about what you are thinking about. And, it was very true to me and my situation as far as anxiety, because I would just allow my thought process to control everything, and it controlled my emotions and how I was feeling. So whenever I would think the worst, I automatically started feeling a certain way about it, and my emotions would take over. So then my emotions led me to feel like, okay, then obviously whatever I was thinking is really going to happen. So it says, think about what you are thinking about. Be transformed by renewing your mind. Do not be conformed to this world or this age, fashioned after and adapted to its external superficial customs, but be transformed or changed by the entire renewal of your mind, by its new ideals and its new attitude, so that you may prove for yourselves what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. even the thing which is good and acceptable and perfect in his sight for you. And that's Romans 12 verse 2. So, and that is basically saying that if we want to see God's good and perfect will proven out in our lives, we can, if we have our minds renewed. It's renewed to God's way of thinking. By this process of new thinking, we will be changed or transformed into what God intends for us to be. So I would constantly read this book because it was very informative and helpful for me in my journey when I was going through what I was going through. So we just have to kind of think about what we are thinking about. Be rational in what you're thinking. So you know you've already, just because you have a pain in your stomach, or because the anxiety kind of made you feel the symptoms of what that illness was that you thought you had, just think about it. Try not to, catastrophize things and overgeneralize the situation when we don't even know. We're not doctors either. So who are we to just automatically believe the first terrible thought that we thought of in our mind? So we're making ourselves sick. We're making it worse. And I mean, as much as I'm saying this to try to help others, I'm saying it to help myself too, because I'm still going through it day in and day out. But it is becoming, understanding it more, and hopefully it'll help me. And that's what this broadcast is for, to just try to help us one word of wisdom at a time, one broadcast at a time. But it was like, I remember at one point in time, not overgeneralizing things. And, I would, if I had to go to the doctor, I would with no problem. And I would believe completely what they said. Or not even that, with me having 2 girls, I would take them to the doctor with no problem. And the minute the doctor would diagnose or tell me, or give your daughter this medication, or this was going on with them, okay, with no problem, I would believe that. Or I would, I would feel reassured, or I would feel some type of, okay, good. So that's what that is. Everything is going to be okay, But then now, because I'm going through what I'm going through, I just find it the hardest to believe what the doctors are telling me. But yet and still, I still need them. I still got to run to them. I still got to go to them. It's almost like they're my only help of survival. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Feel free to comment. Even if you don't see this broadcast for 4 or 5 months or a year from now, don't hesitate to jump on the comments. Share this broadcast with anybody who you feel or that may need to see this. So thank you all. I hope to see you all in my next broadcast with another awesome topic and another one of my journals to help and to share with you all. Again, I'm Ebony J, and I will see you next time.